Hey, we're Damaged. We're excited to be doing this Q&A for Antichrist magazine. So we're going to get started. We're going to introduce the band here. I'm TJ. I do rhythm, guitar, and lead vocals.
I'm Alex. I do lead guitar.
I'm Tony, and I'm the drummer.
And I'm Noah, and I do bass.
So let's get started here with the first few questions.
Okay, so what is the meaning behind the band name?
So, I came up with the name for the band just kind of out of necessity. We were on stage, and I remember the host of the show was like, what is your guys' names? And I was like, Damage. I don't know. It was just something that was just short, simple, sweet. And then, we went home, we did a quick Google search, and just to see if there were any other bands that existed. We didn't find, I don't think we found anybody of note or anything like that. Or we found one band, but they were no longer around anymore.
We found quite a few bands, but a lot of them were inactive, just hadn't really been doing anything for the past 10 years. So we were like, cool. Alright. The next question, can you tell us a little bit about Fatal Solution?
So, Fatal Solution is an album that kind of is talking about, it was written in the midst, some of the songs were started before 2020, but a lot of it was written and finished within the midst of 2020 and the chaos that was that year. It's kind of a introspective album on just our thoughts and our feelings towards what was happening. It was just kind of a lot of, we were very upset, very angry about what was going on, so we kind of channeled that into the album.
The next question is, can you tell us about... I fucking hate everything, dog. We can just clip these together. Yeah.
Space.
Do you want to ask the question then?
Yeah, sure. What's the question?
Can you talk about
the lyrics on this release? The next question is, can you talk about the lyrics on this release? I know with a lot of the creative process with the lyrics, it's a lot more of, what would you say, more of the political side? Not really.
Yeah.
Just a lot of issues that a lot of us here in Damage had a lot of issues with that were going on in our world.
Stuff that we feel very passionate about, if it's, passionate anger, if it's passionate, just emotions of any sort. It's basically we're writing about stuff that we feel we need to talk about, stuff that we feel we should let the world hear.
And it should also be noted that, in our lyrics, we don't take a political stance. For the album Fatal Solution, a lot of it is just looking at just the grand picture, the overall issue. It's not looking at it from a left or a right point of view or whatever. It's just looking at the entire thing as a whole. And I can speak for, the song End State. It's kind of just looking at both sides of this war and how both of them are wrong and both of them are right also. It's just something that there really is no political statement that we're making out of Damage. It's just kind of an encouragement to have an open mind.
Okay, so the next question is, can you tell us a little bit about the album cover art?
So the album art, it came from the idea of how no matter what happens throughout the entirety of the ideology of Fatal Solution, death wins. It's kind of a cliche idea, but no matter what, everyone dies in the end. And 2020 saw a lot of death, have it be due to COVID, due to the climate drastically changing. So basically, the album cover is a little bit of a reminder that death always wins in the end, no matter what issues are going on, political, this or that. And so that's what that big, Grim Reaper is. It's basically, it's got the woman on the chain, kind of death has people by the chains.
Do you think it is important to have a label deal?
Well, I would say it's important for the most part. Nowadays, you can do a lot of stuff independently, but a record deal will definitely help you push yourself forward. They'll definitely help get tours set up.
I don't think it really is as important. If you look at these guys back in the 80s, when they were getting started, that was kind of really the only way they could get their music out is through that. And granted, we did go into a studio, we didn't self-record or anything like that. It's something that it isn't a necessity anymore, just because now there's so many softwares, there's so many little interfaces, there's so many ways that you can share your music that I don't think it's super necessary. It helps definitely, but you don't need to drop all this money. You don't need to do that.
What do you think, Noah?
Yeah, I don't think it's very important anymore. Well, it is important, but I don't think it's as necessary as it was back in the day. As TJ already kind of covered, there's like a lot of great softwares and great home engineers that are doing what a lot of labels are offering just for a lower price or nothing at all, which is super cool. But I think definitely it's still a super cool perk for anybody getting into music.
Tony?
I feel like a label is not, like, as TJ was saying, it's not as important to have as it was back, because back when, you know, making, whether it was SoundCloud or whether it was different apps to make music to get it through, I feel like it's not as important as it was. Okay. So, why thrash metal?
So the Damage is kind of a brainchild, one of my brain children, I guess. I don't know. It's something I came up with, and it's solely out of the necessity to hear something I wasn't hearing. You know, I was so tired of hearing the same cookie cutter, like, metalcore, and, like, I was so tired of just hearing all of that everywhere, as well as hearing just these pop songs on the radio, and I just wanted to get something that I resonated with, and it was really just, I think it was something that I just wanted to hear. And also I find when I'm expressing myself, a lot of it comes out as anger, which is definitely a very thrash metal thing.
Yeah, like, I basically, tagging along with what TJ said, thrash metal is a very good way that we feel it's a very good way to get our point across, because it's just, it's fast, it's aggressive, it's in your face, it's to the point. Even if it is, like, you know, hidden cleverly behind lyrics, you're still getting the point of the song in a very, like, look, we've got a message to tell you, here it is, like, you're hearing it right now.
Okay. So, what got into music and when?
Well,
Jeez.
yeah.
So, the band started
2018.
2018. Yeah, 2018, I think, is it was something where, you know, I just came up with this idea. I'm like, hey, you know, let's do this thing. And at first it was just me, because I couldn't find anybody, but I went to Alex. I was like, hey, do you want to be part of this with me? He's like, yeah, sure. So then we had a hard time finding a bassist and a drummer, and then we had a few people who were flaky, and then we ended up with a lineup that was pretty solid. And then our bassist left to pursue other music, and so then we ended up finding Noah, and that's kind of how we came to be. That's how Damage started. I guess that's a very abridged explanation, but I don't think it's worth going into all the details. It'd be way too long of an explanation.
What do you think was the reason we got into music? Like, whether
Music in general, yeah. For me, what got me into music was growing up around it. I mean, our parents listened to a lot of music, you know, everyone in our family was constantly listening to music. We played a lot of Guitar Hero growing up, TJ, Tony, and I. So that was just like, we want to do the real thing, so that led into that. Noah?
Then for me, I mean, I grew up around a lot of music is from my parents, but I think the main thing was getting a moving box full of records from my uncle, and like discovering bands like Symphony X and Racer X and anything in between, Iron Maiden, any of the classic metal stuff. That's what really got me into music and pursuing it.
This next question, if you could change anything about the music industry, what would it be?
Definitely the cookie cutter approach to making music. It seems like nowadays there's so many artists who go out there with the intent of making money as opposed to making music, because music is very much an art form. It's not a form of income. It's not something that should be treated as a job or a business. It's something that it's your art, it's your way of expressing yourself, it's how other people express themselves, and to monetize that and to try and make profit off of the relating music and your art to other people is a very scummy way of. I shouldn't say scummy. That's a very. It's a very. Deliberate way at manipulating the masses to get money, essentially, which I don't think should be. I don't think you should ever infringe on your art in order to make money.
And I feel like music nowadays doesn't have as much meaning as it used to. It's people making music because it sounds good. And it's not really, branched out to everybody. It's more towards one base of people. And the people who aren't into that base are kind of stuck with not much. So I feel like making this music is, reaching out to the people not in there.
So, that's a good spot to, stop. Let's, take a pause here. You might want to, re-watch through that video and make sure you didn't say anything, bashing, using music as a selling point, because they're a magazine and they do that. So you don't want to straight up shit on them when they're like, hey, we want to interview for our magazine. And you're like, yeah, fuck people who sell music.
I might want to rephrase that question.
Alright, well, do you want me to just redo it?
Yeah, let's just restart it.
The whole fucking thing?
No. If you could change anything about the music industry, what would it be?
I think I would change probably on the artist side of it is not appealing so much to the common denominator. Like a lot of music, they'll keep it like a simple 4/4 beat, like a very upbeat, very dancing, oh, we're going to the club with our friends, and it's very shallow in terms of lyrical content as well as like the music that's going on. It's a very cookie cutter approach. I think when we make music, we don't blatantly tell you what the song's about. We like to stay cryptic. We don't want to insult anybody's intelligence. We want to write music to people who we feel can understand it. And we view music as an art form. It's not something that we just write a super shallow, super catchy song that everybody can dance to in the club to get money.
And on the industry side of it, one thing that I personally would like to change is how record labels realize that there is a formula that works in music, and basically bands will come in, artists will come in, they're like, okay, write your song like this, we're going to put this here, we're going to add this, and we're going to put this in, and then push it out. There are a lot of bands nowadays who basically get oppressed by record labels or big industries, and they're basically told how to write their songs. You can usually tell when a lot of bands sign to record labels that their process changes. There's a huge change in sound. So I would definitely change that side of the music industry of them basically molding bands into money makers and treating it as that.
Okay. Have you had to postpone many shows due to COVID-19?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
We actually we had a 2020, was it 2020 or 2021 tour?
2020.
2020 tour.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we had a No, it was 2021.
Oh yeah.
It was gonna be it was gonna be the summer tour.
February.
We planned on doing a tour in the summer of 2021, but it's something that we ended up canceling just because things started to return to normal. But there was just still a lot of uncertainty about it. So we ended up reaching out to our record label. We ended up reaching out to our booking agency. And we were like, hey, we're really sorry. We would like to postpone this just because, we don't know what the next couple months are going to hold. We don't know what that's going to look like. So we had to do an entire tour. We've had a handful of shows where it's like, oh, Tony's sick. We got to quarantine or whatever. So.
And not just shows. We had to postpone the album. Fatal Solution was supposed to be recorded and released in 2020. But, the lockdown happened over the summer, and we were like, damn, we can't do any recording for this, so we basically used all of 2022, kind of sit down and look at our songs. We're like, you know what? Let's look at them, let's analyze them, put them under the microscope. So we changed a bit, we took some songs out of the album, we added new songs, wrote even more songs, wrote stuff for the second album, so we are actually kind of grateful that, we didn't get to record last year.
I was just about to mention that. So if the lockdown wouldn't have happened, the song on the album End State wouldn't actually be written because TJ wrote it during the...
No, we wrote it.
Oh yeah, no, that was me and him. So
Yeah.
me and him wrote the song End State during lockdown, and we feel like if that lockdown never would have happened, we never would have had the time to get together to write it. So
Yeah, there might have only been like 7 songs on the album.
Yeah.
Because yeah.
And we're not saying it's a good thing that COVID happened. We're saying that it's a good thing we get to like, record our album in 2020. That's what we're trying to get at.
have you had any epic fails during live performances?
Yes.
These two especially.
Yeah, I'm very infamous for forgetting words. So like sometimes I'll just like make up sounds and just try to fill the spot until I can remember the words.
I think the biggest fail that happened though, we were playing a show and TJ's head exploded.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Yeah, my
was,
amp head exploded. That was fun.
That was Noah's first show in the band.
Oh yeah,
And,
it was.
yeah.
It was
Halloween, yeah.
So he's recently on 1 year in the band, but on the Halloween show, TJ's head exploded and we needed to play Fallout, and we were like, we're sorry everybody, we have to cut the show short. We don't know what to do. TJ can't even play. So
Luckily, it was in the middle. It was in the middle of a Avenged Sevenfold song that we were covering, and it got to a point where I was like, okay, well, you know what? The show goes on. So I finished the song just singing, and then after that, we had an instrumental planned. It was a Metallica cover.
Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, Call of Cthulhu. We had that one, and it was like, okay, well, you know what? Those 3 can play that song. They don't need me, so I just kind of was sitting off stage, just was like, I don't know, contemplating my life choices. So yeah, and then we just had to finish the song off from there. We didn't get to play Fallout.
Another bad mess up during a show was Pierre's, when my ride cymbal fell on me, because I had one that was up here, and I remember while playing a song, it tilted right on me because you walked by it, and it hit the leg, and it hit it at a perfect angle, and it fell and conked my noggin right there. I swear, and it hurt, and I was trying to put it back up, and it kept falling, so I was like, you know what, and it was just all a mess.
Also, our first show ever as a band was a disaster, dude. Like, we played for a talent show, and it was something like, it's like, they were very uncoordinated, like, we were getting set up, we were getting ready to go, and then
They took your mic.
They took my mic. I didn't even have a microphone. They took my entire mic stand and everything, and it was just in the back, and I walked out on stage, and like it started with just a spotlight on me, and I was just, playing my thing, and I was looking around for the mic. I'm like, where's the mic? I don't know. When the lights come on, it'll probably show up, it'll just appear.
Never show
Lights came on, everybody was playing, and then I was looking around, I was like, where is the mic? And so I had to go over and like steal another one, and so it's like we had like the entire first half of the song without lyrics, and then like because there was no singing and we couldn't hear each other, we just were all over. The song was a mess.
Haven't played the song since.
Yeah, we haven't played the song since, but also being that it was our first show, we weren't very accustomed to how to handle that, but now I'd say like when things go wrong on stage, we're able to
we just
work around it and we can figure it out. Just on stage, like sometimes we'll just be like, just look at each other and then we're like, okay, yeah, we got it.
A quick little, some kind of quick motion. We snap all back together.
So this one here is any new music that has impressed you?
Definitely, yeah. So I'd like to say Power Trip. I know they're like, relatively new and everything, but Power Trip is like a really good combination of hardcore and thrash, and just the way that they delivered their music, it impressed me the very first time I heard them. So that was it for me.
For me, in terms, like, there's a lot of music that I listen to, and there's like, I guess they're new-ish, but I mean their new album, Greta Van Fleet's The Battle at Garden's Gate, that new album was like revolutionary to me. I don't know, it's just, I'm a big Greta Van Fleet fan myself. That album has thoroughly impressed me, and it's something that it's almost a daily listen to me. Also, there's a metal band, I can't remember where they're out of, but their name is Wraith.
Chicago.
No, that's Wrath. The guys that we met. Okay. Wraith is a band that I just recently discovered. But also Wrath, too. Those two. Wrath isn't a new band, but I'm pretty sure Wraith is a somewhat new band. That one, both of those have impressed me. All 3 of those have impressed me a lot. Like, it's something that I take a lot of inspiration from.
Well, here's for like all the technical metal guys. The new Archspire record that came out a couple weeks ago, that's been on my rotation for a long time right now. Zenith Passage and some of the local boys like Fleshbore and the Green Leaves has been on my playlist for sure. Nashville's Pride and Joy and Tech Death. In Fury is another good one. Those are all been my rotation.
For me, I think I'm gonna have to go follow kind of with what TJ said, Greta Van Fleet, because he got me into him a year or two back, and well, I was a pretty good fan of them with their first 2 albums coming out, or well, 1 EP and then 1 album came out, but then Battle Garden's Gate came out, and that album was just a different feel to them, and it like changed my look on them, and I learned some of their songs on drums, and it taught me a lot of new techniques and a lot of different fills, and I actually used some of them on like some songwriting processes and all that, and like they really influence a lot of like fills and a lot of technical stuff that I do now.
Also, I'm just gonna throw this out there just real quick before we get to the next question. So the band Peach Pit, they have a new album coming out here soon. They've been kind of teasing it. I'm very excited for that one. Peach Pit's a good listen if you guys have not heard of them.
How do you feel the COVID-19 pandemic will affect the music scene?
I think recently with mandates and everything coming around, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity opening up now coming into 2022. Better than what it was last year for us, especially from what we discussed earlier in the questions, postponing everything. But we're excited definitely to see what comes up with COVID. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of change now. I think everything's kind of dialing back a little bit, but...
Yeah, and I feel that, like, even though COVID's still changing and it's still very scary how it's all working, I feel like for the most part, we're kind of, we're kind of getting it together. A lot of places kind of know how to handle this type of situation. Some venues won't allow you in if you have, like, if you aren't vaccinated or don't have a negative vaccine, a negative test result. So it's kind of a lot better than it was when COVID first started. But I feel like from here, it's going to be, like, only good changes happening.
Yeah, I think everybody's getting eager to get back out there now that things are starting to slow down. We have the vaccine, and I think people are just ready to get back out. So I think we're going to see a huge boom in, like, album releases, tours, and shows, and just all these people just coming back to music. I think it's going to be a nice revival to the scene.
Oh, yeah.
So the next question here is, can you tell us a little bit about the local music scene? So for us here in Fort Wayne, our scene is, I would say, pretty active. I mean,
it's all sorts of genres.
Yeah,
you got everything. Really.
There's like a few genres that really dominate here, which is also another thing that we kind of felt inspired by with thrash music. It's like, I think it's like hardcore is kind of really prevalent here. And then also, like,
a lot of
as
rap.
weird as it is, it's like, you go from hardcore, and then there's like also like folk and indie bands are very big here as well.
I definitely think a lot of Fort Wayne here is predominantly like surrounded by psychedelic funk and fusion.
Yeah,
funk has been huge around here.
Yeah, and like there was a little bit of inactive time. Like I feel like within the past like 5, 6, 7 years, music really sprung up because, like, I feel like for a little bit there wasn't really like much going on. There were still bands that had existed, still bands being formed, but like right around 2016 is when I noticed a really big jump in the music scene. Like there were bands being formed every single day, basically. People getting together, jamming, a bunch of concerts happening, venues opening. There was a lot that was going on. So now, like TJ was saying, there's hardcore bands that dominate in the scene, metal bands, indie, folk, there's rap, as Tony was mentioning. So the local Fort Wayne music scene is just, it's alive.
It's an opportunity for everybody. It's like, if you want to start, like, making, let's say, like, pop music, you have a community that already is there, so you can, like, find other artists for that stuff, too, to talk to. So it's an opportunity for everybody,
And yeah, it's kind of like a big melting pot of all these different genres, which is also very influential in terms of like, you know, like, you can't just listen to one genre and draw inspiration. You know, you might draw inspiration from this like funk song or this, you know, R&B song, or so it's like something that's very helpful to the creative process, I'd say.
All right. What are the future plans for Damage?
Well, I'd say right now, in the midst of releasing our album, we currently have, let's just say, other things in the works right now. We're working on, of course, our second album here. Just because, you know, we like to stay busy. We like to stay focused on a common goal. So that's all I think I'm going to talk about. I'm sure we have something else.
I handle a lot of our shows and a lot of our booking, and next year we are definitely going to try to play outside of Fort Wayne and even maybe outside of Indiana. We want to spread as much as we can. So hopefully a tour, if we're ready for it next year. I feel like we are ready for it. It just depends on how 2022 is going to look, COVID-wise, you know. So it's kind of like a lot of outside factors are affecting that. But definitely 2022 holds more shows, the next album, and kind of just spreading.
And just pretty much new content and seeing what really happens with how venues go in the next couple of months and coming into the new year. We're really excited to see what we get involved with for sure.
Yeah, we'd like to stay pretty active within our scene. We like to also bring bands together, bring the community together, so I'm sure there's going to be something coming on, like some festival or something that we can get involved in.
Yeah, all I can say about the future for Damage is it's not going to be repeated. It's not going to be like us repeating an album before us. We're going to be giving a different feel every album. This next one is already a better feel. I don't know if I can say that, but
this next album is a lot higher intensity. It's a lot more technical. It's a lot angrier. It's more.
Yeah.
Expect more from Damage.
Yeah.
So, thanks for coming out and hanging out with us, guys. We were Damage, and we were very thrilled to be doing this interview for Antichrist magazine.
And if you haven't already, go stream our album Fatal Solution on any platform you listen to for your music.
It's everywhere.
Anywhere. You appreciate that greatly.
Anywhere you get your music, you can find it. So,
follow
thank
us
you
on social
guys.
medias.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.